Hey, welcome back. It's me, your favorite spiritual ass kicker, Amy Scott Grant. And today we're talking about what you worry about. Dun, dun, dun. Right? Sounds very ominous, but I promise you it's going to be informative, and you might even have a little bit of fun and get to laugh just a little bit about things that normally stress you out. Okay. So why do we worry? Okay. It's a fear. It's an underlying, it's like something that's not reconciled. Okay. In other words, we don't have it sorted out, or we don't know how it's going to go, or we haven't finished something yet, or we're wondering why someone said what they said, right? Like we worry about things in the past, we worry about things in the future, and very rarely do we worry about things in the present, because when we can just be present in the present, usually everything's fine, right? Or if we're present, then we're able to like shift into solution mode and not have to be worried. So worry is like something that's not reconciled, okay? It's kind of like it's an inner conflict. Not all inner conflicts are worries, but I would venture to say most, if not all, worries are inner conflicts. Like, I want this, but it might not go that way. Or I want this, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Or I don't want this, and I'm afraid it's going to happen. So there's some type of inner conflict. Okay, so that's kind of like where worry comes from. Now, worry can actually be helpful sometimes. And I would venture to say, I said that phrase already, didn't I? Well, I hate to be redundant. So I would go so far as to say that most of the time, the things that we worry about are not super helpful, especially if there's things that you chronically worry about. But I'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk for now about how worry can actually be useful and helpful. It helps me to remember things sometimes, right? And it's not like this kind of worry. It's just like, oh, I got to remember to do that. Oh, I don't want to forget to do that. I got to remember. Right? And so sometimes that type of worry can be super helpful, because it can help you to remember things maybe that you haven't had a chance to write down, or that has to get done by a certain time that you forgot to calendar in, or whatever. I can remember one time in college, I had this dream. I had this really bizarre dream. Do you remember the club? I don't mean like the club. I mean like the club. Do you remember? Mine was red and black, and it was like kind of a weird shaped crowbar almost, but it had like rubber protective ends, and you like hooked it into your steering wheel, and then you locked it with a key. Yeah. I'm sure it was an as seen on TV product. Well, I had one, okay, because I went to college. I grew up in New Orleans, and I was still in New Orleans when I went to college, and I had to drive like to not great areas to go to school and stuff. So I had a club on my car. And one time I had this really weird dream that like somebody took the club out of my car and like smashed the window or something, and then like ran away. I don't know. It was very bizarre. I remember it involved my car, the club, and something going very wrong. And oddly enough, I happened to tell my mother, because it was a very realistic dream and it was sort of disturbing, right? And no one was driving. I knew enough at that point to know that, when somebody's driving your car in your dream, that's very bad. You need to address that. It means anyway, we'll talk about dream interpretation another time. But I happen to tell my mother, who, as you know, doesn't believe in any of this stuff that you and I talk about. Like, and I tell her my dream, and she says, she said, it really sounds like someone up there is trying to warn you. You need to be careful around your car. And I'm like, oh my God, my mom doesn't believe in any of this crap. If she says this dream is an omen, it's probably a huge freaking omen, right? In order for her to say that. So the next day, I'm like cleaning out my car, and guess what I find under the seat? Again, I'm dating myself, I know, because now we pay everything online. I found my envelope with my car insurance, and the check paying my car insurance had like slipped between the seats and like fallen under the seat. So I thought I had mailed it, but I hadn't mailed it. And it was like, I had the dream like 2 days before the payment was due. So it was good that that was like a positive type of worry. is really this long story I'm telling you about the 90s, is because if this was a positive kind of worry, like what's up with my car? What's up with my car? I might not have thought to clean out my car, to vacuum my car, whatever I did that day, if I hadn't like been sort of like thinking, had my car on my mind. So it was helpful. And I called my agent, no problem. Just as long as you get it to us in the next week, you're good. Dropped it in the mail. Everything was fine. Again, back in the day, we used to pay for insurance 6 months at a time. Nobody does that anymore. Why would you do that? Nobody does that. Pay every month. Automatic, online, direct deposit, or direct withdrawal, whatever. All things we didn't have back when I was in college. So sometimes worry can be good. Also, if something's bothering you, sometimes it feels like worry, but it's actually like a red flag. It's your intuition saying, I don't think this person is being truthful with you. I don't think you should go and do that. I know you committed, but you should not do that, right? So worry can serve us. But when does it become not helpful? When it starts to feel really stressful and when you feel like agitated, and also like when the worry becomes dominant in your head, when you can't stop worrying about something. This may shock you, but statistics have shown that 90% of the shit we worry about will never happen. It's either in the past, there's even a greater breakdown of that. That's the only part of the statistic I remember. I remember thinking, holy crap, 90%? What the hell am I wasting all this time and energy worrying for? 90% of it's either not going to happen, or it's already in the past, or there's nothing you can do to change it. And of the 10% that's left, that possibly could happen, a huge portion of that is out of your control, and or worrying about it only makes it worse, like your health. Okay. So when worry becomes like obsessive, when it becomes the dominant thought, when you can't like get away from this worry and you can't do anything about it, that's when it needs to be addressed and handled. Okay. But so here's some things, and I see this all the time. This pops up all the time. This is why I want to talk to you about it, because there are things that other people worry about that I don't even give a second thought to. Okay. Like, okay, so we have these friends who live out of state, and we used to go visit them and stay with them every year for like a week. Okay. And the guy, one time, the guy had undercooked chicken. And the person who ate his chicken got very sick, and he felt terrible. And he had never resolved. Remember I told you something's not reconciled when you worry? He had never resolved the fact that, everybody's undercooked chicken at some point in their life, right? And so it's like, it's okay. The person didn't die. They didn't go to the hospital. Everything worked out fine. Yes, you felt bad, but like, get over it. Move on. They moved on, I promise. He's still holding on to this. So what does this guy do whenever he grills chicken? He cooks the crap out of it. The chicken is so dry. Remember that scene in Christmas Vacation when they're like, and they're trying to eat the turkey and it's like crunchy and nasty? That's what his grilled chicken tastes like. I'm sorry. He's a great guy. He's a friend. His chicken, it's awful. He overcooks the chicken because he's so worried about undercooking it and having someone get sick. And I know a lot of people, anybody who's ever had a brush with food poisoning or salmonella related to undercooked chicken may feel the same way. You know what? My husband Andy's the same way. He has this fear of undercooked chicken. So guess what? If I cook a whole plate of chicken and one piece is like 163 instead of 165, that's the piece he'll get and be like, like it's very, very dramatic in my household. I don't know what to tell you. I got 3 kids that are into acting and a Jewish husband. And you know me. So it's like a thrill a minute around here. But so he worries about getting undercooked chicken. So he actually attracts the undercooked chicken if there is one. There usually isn't one. But if there is one, he'll get it. Okay. These are things I never worry about. It never crosses my mind that I might get undercooked chicken or die of salmonella. It's not even in my purview of fears and worries, okay? Like, it's just not happening. Now, you could argue that that's because I have I have the channel of survival in human design. So there's no way I'm going out on like salmonella chicken, okay? But, and I do take precautions in my house, but I don't ever worry about it. It's like Literally yesterday, I cooked a turkey. I know. Why? Because it's Tuesday? I have no idea. But I cooked like a whole turkey. And I was like, oh, right. I got to spray everything down, right? Like disinfect, whatever, thyme, oil. I don't know, shit we use, but it's all natural. But it had to like disinfect everything because I'm like, you open the package and turkey juice like goes everywhere. And you're like, son of a bitch. So there was a lot of disinfecting happening. But I'm not like a paranoid disinfector. I'm not like, oh my God, nobody touch anything. Turkey. I'm not like that at all. I'm like, hey, there's raw meat here. You might want to back away, right? So I get it all cleaned up. So that's like not in my, like, I don't worry about germs. I know people that are germaphobes are like, bam, first one getting sick as soon as something's going around, right? And I remember hearing this statistic, another statistic, it says there are the same amount of germs surrounding sick people as healthy people. What does that tell you? That tells you you have more control than you think over whether or not you catch other people's nasty germs. Okay? I'm not, advocating being like unsanitary or anything gross like that. Like, use common sense. But I don't have this huge fear about like catching something from other people. Therefore, it just like doesn't happen. I mean, I still get like maybe one cold a year or something, but I'm not like, oh my God, I sat next to someone on the plane and they coughed and sneezed the entire time. And I'm not like, downing echinacea and vitamin C. Whatever. Believe me, I get shit I worry about. I'm just giving you some examples of things that I don't worry about. Another thing that takes up a lot of space in people's head is what other people think of you specifically. And that can cloud like how you talk, what you say, if you have a fear of messing up or making a mistake. All of these worries can really like impede your ability to feel free and to move through life with ease and grace. Okay. So here's what I'm recommending. And you can take this or leave this, right? Whatever. If this resonates, do it. If not, I'll see you in the next video. So what I would recommend is when you notice that you have a worry that's taking up a lot of space in your head, worrying about being late. That's another one that people like. That's one I have to like remind myself in the moment because I'll be like, oh my God, we gotta hurry. We're good with this traffic. Waze didn't tell me there was going to be traffic. What's going to happen? And then it's like, I have to go, oh, right. And this is what I'm going to talk you through is my process. Like, oh, right. I don't need to worry about this. And then guess what? I'm always right on time. And by that, I mean, sometimes I'm late and everyone else who's supposed to be there shows up at the same time as me. So I'm really not late. So it's like, oh yeah, the universe has got my back when it comes to time. I got this. Right now, I have to go pick up my kids like in 3 minutes. I am really clear that I'm going to give you everything that you need and I will finish this video before I have to walk out the door to go get the kiddos. Okay. Now I do have my, kitty cat slipper socks on. So we'll have to change those on my way out the door. But otherwise, I'm ready to go. So, okay. So here's what I do. So in those moments when I'm like, when you notice that you're worrying and it's not a positive, helpful kind of worry, like I've got to remember to pay that bill or I've got to remember to call so-and-so before the end of the month or like whatever it is. If it's not a helpful worry, then the first thing you should do, can you guess what I'm going to say? That's right. Ground yourself, okay? That's the first thing you want to do is ground yourself, okay? You know who I bet likes this little dance? Gannon. Gannon, our favorite spiritual ass kicker supporter. Thanks for being here and thanks for helping us keep the lights on and keep the camera rolling and keep all this good stuff coming out to all of our friends in Patreon, okay? So, yes, the dance. I don't know. Maybe she's like, that dance is lame. Luckily, I don't worry about what she thinks. So I'm happy to have her here, but I will dance no matter how it looks, right? Okay. 3 minutes, Amy. Go. It's probably like a minute and a half now. Yes, that's the first thing. I got my cheat sheet, my notes. First thing to do, ground. Clearly, I was not ground when I went off on that little Gannon sidebar. But, do love me some Gannon. Mm-hmm. All right, so we ground and then listen. Actually, like listen and honor what the worry is, okay? And I know first case scenario, I told you about that. Cherry was like, oh my God, I've totally been using that since you mentioned it. It works great. Yeah, it works freaking awesome. So you could use worst case scenario But which I talked about, I explained like in a prior video, although it's kind of self-explanatory, so you can probably figure it out from the title. But really listen and honor what that worry is. Like, what am I really worried about? Or why am I so, like stuck in this loop? What is really going on here? Because someone might have pushed a button for you and you think the button's called worry about being late, but the button's really called, not a good parent or something like that. And you're like, whoa, I'm totally activated over this other thing that someone said, or this person that I think is going to be there, that I think is going to judge me if I walk in late or I walk in not looking put together, or any of this, right? So like really listen and honor what you're hearing in terms of why you're worried about this. And then take a moment to respond to that worry without emotion. Because I promise you, when I'm in the car and I'm like, shit, I'm going to be late, it's like, that is nothing but emotion. And most of that emotion is fear and frustration, right? So it's like, as soon as I ground, it helps dissipate some of that excess emotion. And then when I just take a moment to listen and honor what I'm hearing, I may even feel compassion. Or I may even feel like relief. Like, oh, that's why I'm like freaking out over being late on this. Oh, right. And then I think, okay, so what happens if I am late? Oh, it's no big deal. And then I'm able to release that worry, right? Or today, I'll tell you today, I had one of those nagging worries that's like, oh, I got to take care of this bill. I got to take care of this bill. But we were trying to get some things sorted out to make sure we were paying the right amount on the bill. And so I'm like, okay, so it's been in my head for a week. We have to pay this bill before a certain date. And then today I thought of it and I was like, oh, and I sent Andy a quick text like, hey, did you get the amount right? Is all that sorted? Yes. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you it's sorted. I'm like, great, can I pay it? And he's like, yeah, you could pay it. Boom. And it's not like back in college when I had to like write a check, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it. No, boom, paid it online, done, bam, bada bang. So that was a helpful worry. And of course, now that I've paid that bill by the due date, I don't have to worry about that anymore, right? So helpful worries usually disappear once they've served their purpose. That's another way you can tell. Like if you've been worrying about something for what feels like a long time, it's probably not a helpful worry. So ground, listen and honor what you're actually hearing that's coming up, and then respond without emotion. Like, just like you're talking to a person who's like, I'm really afraid this is going to happen, and you stay calm. It's okay if they're not, you can like listen and be like, I get it. I get why you're concerned about that, right? And then you can address it either by handling it or by letting it go, right? Like when I'm in the car and I go, right, I don't have to worry about being late. And with that, I'm looking at the time and perfect timing. So it's time for me to go pick up my kids. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Hey, I made it under 20 minutes too. I like that. I like when we could get these awesome videos in under 20 minutes. I think that's a good amount of time. I don't know. What do you think? Do you wish they were longer? No, because I know I talk too much, or not too much, but I know I'm not, brevity is definitely not a characteristic that people list as a quality of mine. So, do you want them to be shorter? Do you want them to be longer? Hey, I'd like to hear from you. Like, what do you think about the length of these videos? I kind of feel like they're however long they need to be, and that's how long they are. And if you don't have the time, then you can watch me on high speed, right? And then I'm talking like this, and oh my God, what must I sound like right now? I'm gonna sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. All right, so that's enough of that. I'm gonna go get the kids. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.